I've generated over $2 billion in revenue for clients, built my own companies into 9-figure outcomes, worked inside more businesses than most people will ever see in their lifetime. And after all of that, all the wins, the losses, the broken systems, the impossible turnarounds, I've discovered something that should honestly frustrate you. Most entrepreneurs fail not because their business is broken, but because they're fixing the right things in the wrong order. Here's what nobody tells you. When you fix things in the wrong sequence, you're not just wasting time. You're building a business that can never scale. Not because the business is broken, but because the foundation can't support what you're trying to build. And the foundation isn't what you think it is. There is a sequence, a diagnostic, a hierarchy. And once you understand it, everything changes. But most entrepreneurs who are working on level 4, when level 1 is the bottleneck, and that's why nothing, no tactics, funnels, or ads will ever save it. You know this feeling you're working harder than ever, trying new tactics, optimizing funnels, running better ads, and the business barely moves. Every fix creates a new problem. You're like pushing a boulder uphill. You're not imagining it. You're just fixing things in the wrong order. The symptoms look like marketing problems, sales problems, funnel problems. The root cause is almost always a sequencing problem. And here's what nobody tells you. I'm about to show you what that foundation actually is. You're fixing what's visible instead of what's foundational. You're optimizing what's exciting instead of what is essential. You're multiplying what's broken instead of fixing what's broken first. When you fix things in the wrong order, your business becomes a treadmill. You work harder, business hardly moves, every fix is creating more issues, more chaos. I'm going to give you a 4-level diagnostic, and I'm going to show you all 4 levels right now. But here's what matters. You can't skip levels. You can't work on the 4th level before you work on 1, 2, and 3. The sequence is non-negotiable. And once you see it, you'll know exactly where you've been going wrong. Level 1 is what I call demand validation. It's where most entrepreneurs get it wrong. Before you fix anything, you need to validate demand, not with enthusiasm, not with compliments, not with this sounds cool or I think this is going to work, but with money changing hands. Demand validation isn't about whether people like your idea. It's about whether the market is already paying for solutions to this problem. If they're not already paying, you're not validating demand. You're trying to create it. And creating a demand is a completely different game than scaling validated offers. Too many entrepreneurs are trying to scale something the market just isn't that into. They're trying to convince people to want something that they just don't want, as opposed to offering something they already do want. That's the difference between scaling and delusion. Ask yourself, is the market hungry? Does the problem you're solving hurt enough? Are there already people paying other people for solutions? Does the offer land instantly without explanation? If you don't validate what it is that you're selling has demand, you can have the best ads, the best funnel, the best copywriter in the world. But if the market doesn't crave what you're selling, you're just polishing something nobody wants. This is where most struggle. They're working on optimizing, conversion, building teams, systems, when they haven't fully validated that their offer can scale. So what happens if you do skip this step? Well, you're building everything on a foundation that can't support it. I'm about to show you what level 2 reveals about your business. Here's where amateurs get exposed. Everyone talks about ROAS, everyone talks about CPA or CAC, everyone wants cheaper leads. But the business that wins is the one that can spend the most on client acquisition. And who can spend the most? The business with the highest lifetime value. Lifetime value is how much a customer is worth to you over the entire time they stay with you. Lifetime value is not just a metric, it's your competitive advantage. It's your strategic weapon, because the business with the highest lifetime value can afford to pay more for customers, more in ads, more in marketing. And when you pay more, you win. Here's what that looks like. If your competitor's lifetime value was $1,000 and yours is $10,000, you can outbid them on every ad. You can spend 10 times more money on marketing and advertising because you have 10 times more budget for ads, for marketing, for innovation, for product development, for building systems. That's a 10x advantage. While they're scraping by, trying to get the cheapest leads, trying to spend the least amount of money on ads, you're investing and dominating the market. Better marketing, better products, better systems, better team members, better everything. because you have the margin to invest that they don't. This is how you become unbeatable, not by working harder, not by having better tactics, but by having a higher lifetime value. Because lifetime value, it's not a metric, it's your competitive moat. Jay Abraham said it perfectly. Maximize before you multiply. Maximize means increasing your lifetime value, making each customer worth more to you before multiplying, before getting more customers and clients. Here's why the math of this matters. Let's say you have a customer worth $100 in lifetime value. If you maximize first, you increase retention, you get them to come back more often, they buy more things, and you can increase that value to say $3,000, you're gonna have more money to invest to grow. But if you don't do that, then you're gonna be capped out. And the only way for you to really grow is to try to save money on ads. This is why most businesses fail, not because they can't acquire customers, but because they're multiplying a business model that hasn't been maximized. They're scaling something that can't support scale. Strong retention gives you predictable cash flow, emotional calm, margin, the ability to outbid competitors, the ability to scale without fear. Retention is a strategic weapon, and most people never fully develop that. But here's what most entrepreneurs do. They skip level 2. They go straight from demand validation to trying to scale to the moon. They try to multiply before they maximize, and then they wonder why scaling feels impossible. Because they've skipped the step that they need to build the foundation of a strong business. So I'm going to share with you what level 3 reveals. Most scaling problems aren't what you think they are. So we've looked at demand validation, we've looked at maximizing before we multiply, but level 3, let's talk about that. Level 3 is delivery. Delivery is not operations. Delivery is your reputation, your consistency, the certainty people feel when they buy. Delivering isn't just about fulfilling orders. It's about creating that experience that makes people want to stay. It's about building the consistency that creates trust. It's about delivering the outcomes that you've promised that create retention. Delivery creates retention. Retention creates lifetime value, and lifetime value fuels acquisition. So most scaling problems aren't really marketing issues. They're delivery issues dressed up as marketing issues. Ask yourself, can you deliver this at 5 or 10 times the volume? Can you deliver without breaking the team? Will clients have the exact same outcome every time? Does delivery create raving fans or quiet refunds? If the answer is no, do not scale. Scaling broken delivery is how businesses collapse. You will acquire customers faster than you can serve them. You'll damage your reputation, destroy retention, and burn through cash. Because if you go straight to scale without solving 1, 2, and 3, you're going to have issues. When you scale broken delivery, you don't just fail, you destroy the foundation you've been building. You damage your reputation that took you years to build. You destroy the retention that was your competitive advantage. And you're going to be worse than when you started. Here's what level 4 reveals. And this is where most entrepreneurs start. And that's why they fail. Only once you have demand validation, retention and lifetime value, and rock solid delivery do you want to scale conversion. This is where you can run your ads, spend heavily on ads, test new channels, build funnels, multiply your sales process, pour fuel on the fire, because now you're multiplying something that works. If you scale, do this first, you're going to multiply your problems. If you scale after this point, you're going to multiply your profit. Here's what most entrepreneurs do. They start here. They start jumping into their ads manager or getting a funnel or an offer out there. They're going to optimize their funnels to get better conversion rates, and then focus all their efforts on this. And they wonder why business isn't going as well as they think it could. Because if they're doing this, if they're focusing only on conversion and they haven't worked on the other 3 foundational steps, you're building a business that is chaotic. You're multiplying problems instead of solutions. You're amplifying weaknesses instead of strengths. You're building on a foundation that can't support what you're trying to build. And here's what's worse. Most people never fix it because they're not aware of the 4 levels of doing this. They don't want to admit that they've been building on the wrong foundation. They'd rather continue through the pain of continuing to try to grow. But here's what changes when you get the sequence right. Now remember, this sequence is non-negotiable. Number 1 is demand validation. Number 2 is retention and lifetime value. Step 3, delivery. Step 4, conversion. If you get this sequence right, the business will stop resisting you. It's going to grow almost effortlessly. Every new initiative becomes easier, not harder. Every fix creates momentum, not more issues. The foundation supports what you're trying to build, and the business can actually scale. If you get it wrong, and nothing, not tactics, funnels, ads, sales, nothing's going to fix it, because you're not just fixing things in the wrong order. You're building a business that can't sustain itself. Not because it's necessarily broken, but the foundation isn't there. If you fix things in this order, if you build your business in this order, you will have a successful, sustainable business.